For this video, I'll be taking you through the process of taking a test that's already in existence and setting it up for students to take. So, I'm in the Law Clerk section of, or program section of Moodle, mainly because the program has been transferred to Acme, and so when I look at the quizzes here, and if I change them, I won't be affecting anybody because they're not using the system anymore. But I can use it as a great example. So we're at the Legal Office Procedures page, and you'll see, as usual, there's in the Activities section an area we can click on for quizzes. And you can see that there were a couple of quizzes that were created, first test and final test. And as you can see, they haven't been used for a while, going back to August and September. So let's say we wanted to set up a new test. Set up this test for a new opportunity to be taken. So let's say it was the final test, and we go to it. It has the tab in the corner. If I can just find that, update this quiz, and you'll see that this is where we would adjust things. It's been set up. You can see the title, Legal Office Procedures Final Test. Now, when do we want to open the quiz? Well, it is presently today. If I look at my computer, it's February 10th, 2015. And let's say I wanted to set the test for Friday. Now, let's ignore that it's Friday the 13th. Because we're not superstitious. And so I want to have the quiz opened for my class that let's say we've decided we're going to have the test as of 9 o'clock on that day. So we have to change the day to 13, of course. And the month has to get changed to February, and the year to 2015. And the time, 9 o'clock, and we'll put that to double zeros. Now, if the test is going to be for the morning, what we can do is set up a broad time period. Let's say we set it up till what would be 2 o'clock, and we'll make, obviously it has to be the same day and a year. If you don't make these changes, you'll run into problems. Whoops, I made a mistake. This should be 13. This is where I put the time to 2 o'clock. And there we are. Now, how much time are we going to give them to do the test? And that's the judgment you'll have to make. It shows here 120 hours, which means 2 hours. 120 minutes, meaning 2 hours. So, if we wanted to give them a little more time, we could give them an extra 10 minutes, let's say. And because it's the sort of test we're doing, they get one shot, so we're not going to let them do additional attempts. So we leave these as none regarding later attempts. Now, questions per page. This is how we originally did it. By unlimited, we mean that all the questions would show up on one page, and the students would scroll down the page doing the test. We found that the problem with this is if there's an interruption with the website, with the internet connection, or if a student clicks the wrong button and and the test shuts off or closes or disappears on them, then the chances are they've lost all their material. Even though there was a button in the system that allowed them to save without submitting, it didn't always work. So what we do now, and what I'd advise you to do, is to set it up so that you show 3 or 4 questions on a page. Now, shuffle questions is a good idea. It means that when you have a student sitting beside another student and they glance at that other student's computer screen and see what they answer for the second question, for example, if the questions are shuffled, both of them will have different questions for their second question. Shuffle within questions you'll have to think about, because if you were to have a question that was A, B, C, D, E, and E was all of the above, if you shuffle within the questions, your A answer might be all of the above, and which would be silly, of course, because it would be at the top, there'd be nothing above. So you have to think about that, about whether you want to shuffle the responses A, B, C, D, E within the question. Attempts, there should only be one attempt allowed. And so obviously if that's what you're doing, one cannot build on the other. And by having adaptive mode turned on, you end up allowing them to take other attempts. And it's not what we want when students all have the same obligation to take the best shot at the test. Otherwise, if you allow them other attempts, they'll keep attempting until they get it right. And if they get feedback through the system, then everyone will get everything right. Okay, now coming down here, you usually have to remove all of these ticks so that students aren't getting feedback sent to them by the machine while they're doing the test. Excuse me. Now, it's good to have a password. This means that students cannot access the test without you giving them the password. It allows you to maintain test security in the classroom. So I would say make sure the students are all there by your start time. Start them all at the same time, which is best. In a perfect world, that would be best. You always have people who show up late no matter what. But do your best to make sure they're all there and ready to go. And when they are ready to go, you give them the password and they can go in. Now, regardless of when they start, if they start a few minutes before or after another student, the amount of time they have is still within what we have here, 130 minutes. So a person starting 5 minutes after another student will continue for that extra 5 minutes, so long as it's within the times we have for opening and closing the quiz. Students may find themselves going over the time limit, and that means that the quiz will close itself on them. So it's very important to make sure that they try to complete the test before the time limit's up and choose to close it themselves. Otherwise, there may be some possibility of a loss of their results when it closes, or the last page. So that's why having 3 questions per page is a good idea too, rather than unlimited, or 4 or 5, whatever you want to do, because the system more effectively saves results that are already entered when a student moves from one page to another. So if they complete the first page, move to the second page, the system has been very effective in saving the results from the first page. It doesn't stop a student from going back and changing their answers on the first page, but it does ensure that they're forced to go through this process of saving the results as they go along. If they get kicked out somehow, their fault. The school's internet connection is the fault. The Moodle website has a problem. It doesn't matter. When you get them back in, their results will be there, and they can continue. Okay. Now, coming back down here, I mentioned the password. You can ignore the rest of these parts. So once you've done this, you can save and return to the course. It's now set in there, and now if you might recall when we looked at this test, oops, sorry, sometimes I even make a mistake. When we look at these quizzes, and we were at this one, you'll see it's in section 10. Okay, so that means on this web page, when the students go to do the test, you would go down to 10. Here we are, and here's the test. You click on that, and now this is what you see, but the students will see something that looks a little more like this, and they will then put in the password, and that was dollhouse. Oh, there we go. And you'll see that there's a variety of different questions here. Mostly multiple choice, but also one-word answers that they have to spell and get correct for the system to recognize it. So there we have it. If the students attempt the test before the test opens, it will bounce them back out. It's only when the time is right to start the test that they will be able to put the password in. Another few things I would say, suggestions to help you operate these tests smoothly. First of all, make sure that the students are there not only on time, but have already turned on their machines and made sure there were no issues with how their machine is working, because you may have to call tech support to come in and get it turned on or get its connection to the internet working. You'll also have students who will forget their login and passwords, so it's better for them to get started on that, and if they have problems, to solve those problems with them. Of course, it would have been a wise thing to tell them ahead of time to memorize and or write down that information so that they don't forget it at crucial times like test time. So, but I guess my main point here is not to deal with all the different issues, but to remind you to make sure the students show up in time, enough time before the official start date to work through those issues. And they should really then be in a situation where they can, at the opening time, go in and have that window for the password open and ready to go. And then, of course, they'll have to put the password in correctly, and you get started. Now, one other thing, well, this I'm going to close out, if I know how. Say submit all and finish. Oh, well, it's not letting me out, so why don't we just go to this other section for results. That was a review of preview. Now, let me take it to the update part. You'll see now that we've gone through all that. When the students are finished, their results will be in the results section, which we've discussed in another video. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention is that if you put information in here that'll remind the students of certain things. It's the final test, it's 35 questions worth 1 mark, mix of short answers and whatnot. So that's a little bit of what will be shown when they first go into the test and are going to be putting in their password. Okay. Okay. So that's basically how the setting up of the test works. Now, of course, after they've done the quiz, as I've shown before in another video, you'll find their results by clicking on the results tab, and you can then mark them. These have all been marked, and there's a number of classes that have submitted their have done the test, and you've marked them. Now, one last thing, as I mentioned before, their grades will be, as you see in this column, out of, in this case, 35, and you can, if you needed to review it with a student, if they want to, you could take them through this. You could print it out, but that would be quite the waste of paper unless you decide to do it, because only a few students have asked for this. Okay, so that's how you set up a test. You can look at the video that has been completed on how to mark tests, and the next video I'll be creating is how you build tests in the first place using the test banks that we have in Moodle. Thank you.